Welcome back to Sikh Meets World. On this episode, we sit down with the first Sikh UFC fighter, Arjan Singh Bhullar. Arjan's from Vancouver, Canada, and was an Olympic wrestler for the country prior to starting his mixed martial arts career. He's now 7-1 and has a big fight coming up in Canada on October 27th against Malcolm Golem. Gerwin got to sit down with Arjan and advance at one of his fights earlier this year in Phoenix, Arizona. Gerwin, what did you guys talk about?
Yeah, I mean, his Sikh faith is super important to him, and this was the first fight where he was allowed to wear a turban into the octagon. So he made it a point to come to Phoenix, visit the local community and the Gurdwara before his fight. We talked about how he got into martial arts, how the Sikh saint soldier mentality motivates him, and really why was it so important for him to wear his turban into the octagon. And we actually got to visit and see his last fight in Phoenix, and it was so cool. And I was filled with pride when I saw him. When you saw people like wearing kurtas, you hear people doing jakaras when he was fighting. It was actually pretty surreal. I mean, I don't know about you, but I was like in awe.
Absolutely. Not only was the fight incredible, but even the events leading up to it. This was one of our local We Are Sikhs affiliates in Phoenix, got to put on, a number of events with Arjan to get the community involved and get them to attend his fight. But we also got to do a lot of media and a lot of promotion around the Sikh faith to explain to the Phoenix community who we were, using the UFC and MMA and Arjan himself as a representative for the faith, which was really incredible, especially knowing that Phoenix is often known as a more conservative place, and especially with the UFC audience, which leans heavily towards males and is more of a conservative audience itself. This was an incredible way for us to explain who we were and who we are and what the turban means to an audience that often doesn't get to see many Sikhs generally in their daily lives. So that was awesome, and I think as you mentioned, when the Bhangra music dropped and he walked out to the octagon, it was truly awe-inspiring.
Yeah, man. I totally agree. Totally agree.
Well, let's not chat too much. Let's let this interview speak for itself. So, without further ado, take a listen to the third episode of Sikh Meets World.
So, we got to hang out this weekend. We did some cool stuff, all in preparation for a big day coming next month. Can you tell the audience a little bit about that?
The day is April 14th. The day is Vaisakhi. Our audience is very, very familiar with that. But the day is also my next UFC fight.
Yes.
And it is something we're setting up for. And something that's really, stars seem to have aligned for this.
But you're more than just going out and fighting.
Yeah,
there's something way bigger that you're doing. There's a message that you're bringing.
For sure, for sure.
And do you want to tell folks a little bit about that?
Yeah, the first part of that, it is a lot bigger than just me fighting. I can just do that, and for sure, I'm in, out. I know how to do that. I'm going to do that, and rinse and repeat, and there goes my career, and all good. But I want to make it more than just that, and I want to be able to use this opportunity and this platform that I'm gaining as an athlete, with the UFC on board, with Reebok on board, with so many other organizations that want to be a part now. I want to be leveraged that for things I'm passionate about, and one of those is our community. Right. And that is one of my motivating factors. People saying, it's a selfless act, but I'm also being selfish because it's fuel for me. It fills my tank, throws on a little more wood on the fire, which is something you need because I've been competing for a long time.
Right.
So
you're also going out to the octagon with your bunk.
For sure. So what we did this weekend, as you're aware, we had all the media outlets. We touched on that. We touched on April 14th and Vaisakhi. So I'm being able to, like I said, leverage the fight to be able to touch on very community-oriented issues. It's my belief system. It's where I come from. It's who I am. So it's very easy to do and get excited about. And I hope we're able to reach a broad audience and continue to build this thing. The UFC is excited because they have someone representing the flag of India. They want to crack that Indian market, do events in India, connect with the over 1 billion Indians globally, all that. and I am a bridge for that. And so, this is all very exciting.
Right. Your father came to South Vancouver at a super young age and became a prolific wrestler.
Yes.
Give a little bit about his story, because that's also really interesting.
So before my father, his nana came to Canada in 1906. From there, my baba was called over by my dad's nana, so his father-in-law, in 1959. So at that time, my bibi was pregnant with my dad, and my dad's the youngest of all siblings. So 1959, Baba got the call. How it is back then, land of opportunity, for a future for the family, all that. Jumped on it and came out to Canada, to South Van. Labor work, mill work, heavy labor, just like everyone else in the community. Is either that or farms. My dad worked in the factory. Exactly. Either it was either sawmills or farming, that type of stuff. And he's asthmatic. Yet the sawdust got to him and all that. He was carted out many times on the stretcher. Looked different, being a Saddad. That time in history, a lot of challenges for our people. Anyhow, worked for many years, saved up $8,000 for a house in South Vancouver at that time. Bought himself a car, then called over the family in 1970. So
he hustled.
He hustled, man. He sacrificed. He didn't have to. Our family was well established back in Punjab. He didn't have to do any of that, and he did, and I'll never forget him for it.
What inspired you to get in wrestling?
You know what? Before that, I think you can say I was inspired to become something and be great at something. And knowing that our family is what our struggle was, and how someone is basically able to give up their future and their life to establish something for someone like myself down the line within the family. That was, how can I not make something of myself? That's way harder than anything I've done. I couldn't imagine moving to a different part of the world right now, starting off from scratch. Right. So we got so much more comfort and so much more of a base to become successful. So it ended up being wrestling because, Dad was a first wrestler in our family. He went to high school, John Oliver Secondary, in South Van. Again, some of the challenges, a lot of racial tensions then, not as much when my Bubba came, but still physical altercations, not just him, other members of the family, members of the community. You had to travel in packs for safety. Yeah. Cross the street when you see a white man coming down, because that was the right thing to do. Be more Western, because that was what you're supposed to do. All those things. Right. Dress differently. You don't wear your traditional clothes. You don't speak your language in public. All that stuff. Right. And wrestling was a means for self-defense. Right. He understood it from the homeland, as you know. Wrestling, kabaddi, gataka, it's been passed down. So he knew the sport, and it was familiar to him, and it allowed him to build himself up and stand up for what was right in those times, for himself, for the family, for the community, all that. And he had a prolific career, as you said. And from there, my foundations were laid.
I want to take a step back and even get back to what we were talking about earlier. Do you think that's why you're so passionate that when you fight, it's not just about your fight? It's something about so much bigger. Hey, and I just so people can understand, because they weren't there with us this weekend. There's a different sparkle in your eye, because there's a little bit extra that you're going for.
His purpose is huge in life. The guy I'm fighting is just fighting, maybe to collect a paycheck, maybe because he thinks he wants to be a professional fighter. I'm fighting for much more. I'm willing to go through the fire, man. He's gonna have to put me out. I will not. For me to lose it, I'm not gonna have a heartbeat. Otherwise, as long as there's blood pumping through this body, I'm going forward. And so you talk about purpose for preparation, and you talk about purpose in battle to win. I have over 1 billion reasons why I need to win and why I need to succeed. And aside from that, I think for sure it's not. To draw parallels maybe to the African American community in America, my history and our history isn't generations removed, hundreds of years. where I don't know where he came from, and I don't know what the struggles were on a personal level. I met my bub. I grew up with him. He used to drive me to school, you know? Yeah. So I know firsthand what we went through. So it has an impact.
Right. Speaking of purpose and speaking of hard work, you're also an Olympian.
Sure.
Right? You are an Olympian.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for me to believe because you're just such a regular guy, and when you think of an Olympian, you think of just someone that is out there, that's hard to reach, that's hard to touch, because the level of excellence that you need to compete in the Olympics is so high.
Oh, sure.
What was it like to be one of the few, I don't even know if we were the first, but at least definitely one of the few Indian athletes to represent Canada in the Olympics?
Yeah, so I was the first Indian to represent Canada.
You were the first Indian to represent?
For freestyle wrestling.
For freestyle wrestling.
On that team, we had some field hockey guys, which were my boys. One of the coaches was actually Sadat as well.
Oh, wow.
And I actually shout out, to one of the field hockey guys, Ravi Kallan. He is now the Minister of Sport in our province. Which is amazing. Goes to show that we're everywhere, our success. And to touch on what you just said, for sure I'm normal. I'm a human being just like anyone else. I just made the right choices along the way, and I made a lot of wrong choices too. Mm-hmm. And some of those were a lot of fun. But I made some right choices to be able to have the success I've had, and I've had a great support system. And those choices are, whether it's politics, whether it's business, anything in life, people make those every day. But I made mine in the field of sport, and it's a lot of fun being in that area. And the Olympics was crazy, man. It was a way to close a chapter on my family story in the sport.
Yeah, for sure.
If you know my family, we've had a gym built on our family property since when my dad trained. It was built with cinder blocks for him, where they had no heat. They burned wood, then they had a propane tank to keep it heated. Now we've got a little more luxuries. We've got an Olympic wrestling mat, weights, electric, all the treadmills and Stairmaster, rowing, all that kind of stuff, and climbing rope. And so we've had that since day one. 10 boys in the family.
Wow.
Guys, all my cousins, myself, we all wrestled all throughout high school, and then onward, myself and my cousin Jag. Still have the Bullet Wrestling Club free for all kids in the community to come to. We teach them weekly.
Can I go one time?
For sure. We just had actually one of our girls. She's Filipino background, was a state champ, provincial champion in Canada. This year she got second in the nationals over the weekend.
Wow.
Shout out to her. Yeah. So we're just continuing that legacy, man, of seva, of giving back, of our sport, all that type of stuff. And like I said, the Olympic journey was huge for our family. Everyone flew out. I was in London, England. We had family out there, as you know. A lot of brothers and sisters out there. Right. Everyone came together. But for me, it was bittersweet because I wanted to get on the top of that podium. And that's what drives me today still as a fighter.
Got it. I think that being one of the few Indians that were able to make it that far, I think you will open the possibilities in other people's minds, I think without a doubt. That they can do the same thing.
We can do anything, man. You look anywhere, especially in North America, we've got athletes, we've got politicians, we've got businessmen, we've got professionals, all breaking barriers, all top of the food chain. So it's a great time to be a Sikh and be alive, man.
Right.
You can do anything.
Kids now are spoiled, man.
Yeah, it's easy now.
They don't get it what we got.
And when I connect to the youth back home, and whenever I'm talking, I'm telling them that. Yeah. We never had these luxuries in this base before. And look what our people were able to get to and accomplish. So don't take it for granted. Now make use of it. Don't get complacent, right? Use it to a springboard. Absolutely.
And I want to get back to that too, because I think that's going to be really important. But now you're signed with the UFC. You came to you finished the Olympics. You were faced with an important decision of what you wanted to do with your fighting career.
So after the Olympics, I was approached by the WWE and the UFC. Both wanted an Indian athlete they can connect fans with to crack that Indian market, much like Yao Ming did for the NBA. Every major sport's been looking for an Indian athlete to push that international market. And I explored both options. I reached out to Jinder Mahal at that time, who's in the WWE. Yeah. Kind of wanted to ask him, pick his brain, what's the lifestyle like? What's your schedule like? And he told me, he's like, bro, I'm home like 10, 12 days a year.
Wow.
So he's like, if you got a wife or planning on having a family and such, he's like, it might not be the best fit in that regard, but he goes, I love it and I'm passionate about it, so it's worth it for me. And I'm a big family guy. We have over 20 people that live together in a house, right? A lot of people be missing me back home. When you got a good thing at home, it's tough to be away as much.
Right.
Not saying that gender doesn't, by the way.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Everyone has everyone has a different thing.
Exactly.
Right.
And he's so passionate about what he does. You can tell for him to rededicate himself second go around in the WWE now, it's amazing to see him do great things. But that being said, I still wanted to compete. Like I said, I have that burning desire to be a world champion still. Rather than maybe the scripted stuff that's in the WWE. And I want to stay home, not be on that schedule as much. So, explored the UFC route, threw myself in the deep end right away. Generally, what happens with wrestlers is, can they strike is the biggest question. They obviously can grapple. Can you punch, kick, take a punch, a kick, a knee, an elbow, all that stuff. So I started training boxing right away and I took a boxing fight. I wanted to put myself in that environment where I can't use my wrestling. What's it going to be like? 6 months training. I threw myself in boxing fight. Went fantastic. And I made my decision. From there, I visited TriStar where George St. Pierre trains in Montreal. Went there and wanted to see what they do. What do fighters do for training? Yeah. Because, again, educated decision making, right? Can I see myself doing this, etc. From there, I got a great perspective. Very smart gym there, led by some great minds in the sport, but they didn't have heavyweights. And the top heavyweights in the world train out of a gym called AKA in San Jose, California. Many of them come from a wrestling background. Olympians. Daniel Cormier is the Olympic wrestling team for the U.S. He was the Olympian and the captain of the team. And he's a captain of AKA, so I knew him from the wrestling world. A guy named Mo Lawal, same thing, represented the U.S. internationally in wrestling. So I reached out to him, and I was like, I want to come down. I want to see if I got what it takes and see what you guys do, and et cetera, et cetera. So went over there, had a tryout, made the team, and been there ever since, dropped anchor. They got the best heavyweights in the world, like I said, so I've been kind of copycatting their blueprint for success and adding my kind of twist to it, and it's been a winning formula.
Got it. Well, I'm personally really big into sports, not professional sports like you are, but like sports, working out, nutrition. Can you go? What is your, just selfishly, like what's your workout plan? What do you do?
Yeah, so I've been working out twice a day since I was in high school, probably grade 9, 10, and usually, generally, the mornings consist of strength and conditioning. Different stuff. Depends where I am in my training cycle, if I'm getting ready for a fight, or if I'm outside of a fight, just getting better as an athlete. Weight control, all that type of stuff comes into effect there. And then evening, more technical skills. So when I was wrestling, it was just strictly wrestling related. Now, there's so many different aspects to the game, different ways to win. So I've got, 3 days a week I'll do straight MMA, where I mix all aspects and spar. Then the other days I'll break it down, wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, etc. Different sessions specifically for that skill set. And it's worked out great. I got a great team and support system in Vancouver, as well. And they've been, phenomenal, my training partners. And aside from that, in between training sessions, recovery's huge. Massages, I'm a big fan of. Eating right, staying hydrated, studying tape of myself, and others. Always looking to get better. It's a full-time gig, man.
What's your favorite workout routine? From like actual workout to like martial art.
Okay, actual workout, I would say hitting pads. I like hitting pads. Yep. I like doing sprint work. Yep. That type of stuff. I used to love lifting. Yep. And when I wrestled, I was 260. Yep. I was heavier than I am now. I had to change my body type to fit this, longer rounds, and et cetera, et cetera. But not so much now, because the more I lift now, the tighter I feel. Yep. And I can't be snappy in my striking. Yep. It goes against what I'm trying to do. So I've grown to not like that feeling as much anymore. But I think when I'm done competing, I'll go back to the pump. And in terms of martial arts, wrestling's still my favorite, I would say. Boxing's right there too. Actually, maybe even, I'd say they're neck and neck.
Yeah.
Because I grew up a boxing fan. Ali was my idol growing up.
Yeah.
Not only because he's a great athlete, but what he did for his people beyond sport. And
that's
why
what made him a legend, man.
That's why he's the greatest.
That's why he's the greatest.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
It changed the game.
For sure.
He's almost more remembered for that than almost anything that he did. There's a couple of fights that obviously people like Thriller Manila.
Yeah.
There's a couple of fights,
Yeah.
but like he is an icon because of that.
100%.
Yeah.
Records are made to be broken. Champions come and go. But that type of stuff stays for generations.
Yeah.
That
so,
impact.
you know what? I've become a little less into weightlifting too. I'm more into like circuits and stuff.
Yeah. Especially like if you're not training for something, you have to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
Like when I'm
change it up.
You have to.
It's changing it up is the spice of fitness.
For sure. I played growing up. I played basketball. I love playing ball. Even now, so if I don't have a fight, I'd rather go cross train and do that. Go for a long bike ride.
Yep.
Do a hike. You got to keep it fresh, right?
Absolutely.
You're still taxing your body. And it's not specific to, your normal training camp, which can become grueling and monotonous. But it still taxes your body, so.
As both the first Indian and Sikh UFC fighter, what you were talking about platform, we were talking about Ali. What do you want to accomplish with this platform? We were talking about this earlier. Like
you
months
already
earlier.
know.
Man, I know that. How can I tell other people?
Yeah.
What do you really want to accomplish with this?
I want this thing. I can fight. I can do that. I can move on. I can make a lot of money and be successful and be happy. But I wouldn't be happy, and I wouldn't consider myself as successful as I can be if I'm able to impact some lives, if I'm able to make a difference, if I'm able to connect with people. I'm not just talking Indians and Sikhs. I'm talking people in general, man. It doesn't matter what community, culture, background you come from. I will connect with you in a different way, different perspective with every single person. I get excited about the Sikh and Indian connection because there aren't many out there that can do that. I have to do it.
Very
and if it's not going to be one of your own, then who? So it's got to
like
start.
You and Jinder.
Yeah, that's right.
That's about it.
Yeah.
And I can't. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of other professional athletes.
Yeah, we've got some in hockey now as well.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. We got a local boy, Jajar Kara. He's in the NHL. He's doing big things, playing for the Oilers now. Surrey boy. Shout out to him. And we got people coming up, man.
That's good.
Yeah. So, but we're Canadians. Jinder's Canadian. I'm Jajar.
Right.
This must be something in the water, brother.
There's something in the water in Canada. We'll catch up. We're going to catch up.
That's right.
We're going to catch up. So what is Jinder like, actually? Because he just seems like such a character.
He's a good dude, man.
Yeah.
So I met Jinder. I was in university when I met him.
Yeah.
So he's from Calgary.
Yeah.
And I was actually on a wrestling tournament. I was competing at the University of Calgary. And then we went out, late night shenanigans, and I ran into him. And you know what? It's funny because I don't want to say an alpha dog, but I'd like to think in my mentality, my approach is that. And I looked around, there's a big dude in the bar, right? And I'm like, who's this cat? And then he's Indian. He caught my...
Which is rare.
Yeah.
But they're just... When you see a big Indian dude like that...
Well, I would say, at least, especially in Vancouver, we've got a culture for working out. It's a big thing out there. There's a lot of big boys.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so I seen him, and actually he came up to me right away and said, hey, what's going on? And he knew me from the wrestling scene at that time. And he showed me a lot of love, and it was both ways. Anyone that shows me love, it's always mutual, even like how you said, I'm accessible today and this, that. I will always be that guy. And from there, we just kind of kept in touch, man. He was trying to make his dreams come true in pro wrestling. I was doing my wrestling thing, and I was in university, like I said. So that must have been, that was probably like 10 years ago now. And it's funny now.
Wow.
He's in the WWE.
You're in the UFC.
I'm doing this, and both arenas do a lot of cross promoting, which is exciting. I
have to imagine the audience is similar.
Exactly. They go hand in hand. The business model is too, right? But he's got the jump on me in terms of the Indian market in India. WWE's been out there for many, many years.
Right.
And so actually in his
UFC is newer.
25 years old.
Yeah.
It's 25th anniversary this year.
Wow. Yeah. And it really rose into prominence the last decade and a half.
For sure.
And WWF is just
Yeah, we grew up. It's WWF.
Yeah,
let's keep it real. We grew up with that
the
stuff.
young kids listen to this. They don't know what we're talking. They think we're talking about like pandas or something.
Yeah, I can't believe they lost that lawsuit.
Yeah. So like, but they've been around for a minute. So yeah, he seems like a great guy.
Solid guy. Yeah. And he lives in Tampa. If you guys ever want to reach out to him.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
I got family in Tampa. That's about to happen. Okay. Yep. Because he just seems like a really nice guy. I read like an expose on him, and he seemed very, very humble. Such as yourself. You're a very humble guy.
I think part of his journey created that as well. Because his first go-around wasn't as successful. Right? He was cut. He's back on the regional scene. I think that gives you some type of perspective and growth as a person. And not only that, then he made it after that. Right? He wasn't just cut and disappeared. He worked his way. He stayed on the grind. Probably figured out who his real friends are.
Right.
All that type of stuff.
Right.
And then he made it back and became champ. And
right.
I'm sure a lot of those other friends came back around.
Right. No, failure is never final.
Yeah.
I think people get caught up.
It's a choice, though. It can be if you choose to be down there.
Exactly. If you know what? That's one of the biggest. That's what separates a lot of people, I think. I mean, you never know what's really going to happen, right? But if you fail and you mope, and you don't go do something about it, go do something about it.
Yeah, that's it.
You get caught up.
For sure.
And his story could have went a totally different direction.
The way I think, man, it's you can't allow something that's in the past to affect you today, right now in the present. It's already happened. So why are you getting emotionally attached to something that's not happening to you anymore?
You have no control over it anymore.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Well, all you have control over is now.
Right.
So fix your mind, get right, and go become something, man.
Right. So one area of Sikhism's history that hasn't really been told is our martial arts history.
I blame you.
Yeah, well, we're getting to that. We got to the equality first, and now we're good
people. Let us in, and now we're fighters.
Yeah, now we're fighters.
I like the approach.
We'll bring it in slowly. But we fought for good reasons. For sure. What role did the idea of being a spiritual role, the birth of the Khalsa, really impact you as a fighter?
It's something that as I've grown, I've learned more and more about, and I've connected more with. And, it's special. We are a special people. Since hundreds of years ago when our, belief system was being, established, very inclusive, very open, very accommodating, very diverse. And that's what Sikhi's about. Right. It gets crazy as time goes on and people start putting their own twist to shit. But let's keep it real. It's open. It's probably the most inclusive belief system out there that people can relate to.
Right.
And not only that, we've been fighting for it since day one as well. Being in North India, not only because of where we were as a people, but you look at the North, the foreign invaders swept into the North to come into India. Who'd they meet? Our people. So we were fighters since day one. We had to be. We held the keys to the gate to India. So we've been molded. Our bloodline is that of warriors. We are unique. We have symbols that allow us to stand out, to be unique. We have names that connect us worldwide, whether you've met each other or not. We are connected, and we are connected today and to the Sikhs that came hundreds of years before us because of that. So we're a very unique people. We need to be able to tell our story accordingly.
As you know, and as you've seen, just by even being in the UFC, many people don't know who we are and what our values are and what we represent, right? And most people assume we're the opposite of what you just said, right? That we're not open-minded, that we're not...
they're fearful.
Exactly.
Of the unknown.
Exactly.
Of ignorance.
Exactly. And things were made worse by 9/11 and in the media and things like that. But what we found when we ran the campaign last year was that Sikh values of equality, like real equality, like racial equality, gender equality, and not just like saying that we believe that, but then to your point, taking it next level further, that we fought for that. And we didn't just fight it for our people, we fought it for so everybody could have those rights.
Yeah.
And
we're leading the way even today. Look at our politicians, right? Every single one of them, that is a part of their mandate, if you will. people had to have been open to diversity, to equality, to let you in. So it's the nature of the beast. Once they're in, they push it as well. Right. So we're still fighting for it.
Yeah.
And there's two ways of fighting, like I told you the other day, with your hands or with a pen. Yes. Either way, it's all good. We're getting the job done.
Yeah, absolutely. Has community service, like this level of community service that you're doing now, this level of seva that you're doing now, has that always been a part of your life?
Always done it, man. You're only seeing it now. Yeah. It was more at the ground level in person. Always been doing that since high school. Because I've always been able to have success in what I was doing, breaking barriers, just having success, period. For me, it was always to be the best. And the fact that I was Indian was a bonus. And able to break barriers no one had done is a bonus. But because I've had that success, I've been able to have that platform and do outreach and such. And youth and kids have been huge. Cause they're like sponges, man. All they need is someone to connect with them. That's all it is. And I see so much innocence and potential. I love, that's what I enjoy doing the most. Uncle's all right too. But
they're a little bit
harder. Kids aren't so set in their way, man. And they don't even know their potential. So if you're able to kind of show them the light, your message goes tenfold, rather than someone who's already lived half their life and set in their ways. That's the only difference.
Yeah. Did you always know you were going to be a fighter?
I always
knew I was going to. Was there a backup plan?
I always knew I was going to be great. And I was always told I was going to be great. I may have questioned it sometimes along the way and had doubts just like everybody else. But deep down, I always knew. And I always knew I was going to have a platform. And that's why along the way, as I had that platform and it continues to grow, I made sure to stay true to who I am and be able to use that. And that was one of the decisions in becoming a fighter was I felt as an Olympic athlete, I had maximized my platform, my potential. And that was one of the motivating factors to get into MMA UFC. It's more of a professional sport, bigger platform in that regard, international reach, and I could make history and be that bridge for the company. All that stuff came into play. And aside from all that, I got the goods, man.
So there was no plan B accountant Arjan Bhullar?
Accountant, oh God. I can never see myself wearing a suit and tie and then working for the man or answering to someone else like that. I've always been my own dude. And my brother's a year older. He's a lawyer. He's a part of the system and all that. And he even says, you can't do that, man.
He's like, Arjan, you just couldn't handle it.
Yeah. I've had people, even after the Olympics, hey, go into politics, you can connect with people, you got a voice and all that. And there was all that, and it was the same thing. I don't know if I'm built for the system, man. I can't bite my tongue or play to a voting base. I'm going to keep it 100, and I'm going to say it like it is. And I don't know if that's what the nature of politics doesn't seem to be, where it doesn't allow that, unless you're like a leader. And I'm not, I can't be at the ground level answering to party politics and all that bullshit.
Right.
Although I enjoy it. I studied, got my major in political science.
Right.
And my brother did the same thing, but he went to law school.
No way.
But for me, I enjoy the system and understanding it and making it work for myself because I can understand it.
Right.
But being a part of that beast, I don't know if it's for me, and that's why, I like where I'm at, and I can speak my mind and still do all those things maybe a politician should be doing.
Right. In some cases, having more reach.
Exactly.
Having someone that's been in politics. And now that I'm out of politics, when I see a politician on TV, I'm like, oh my God, please.
Yeah, just stop.
Exactly. And this is me, I've been in politics for so long.
Nothing ever seems to change.
Yeah.
It seems so obvious the things that need to be changed and what needs to be created, but it never freaking seems to happen.
It happens very slowly.
Yeah.
There's changes, and it happens all at once or very slowly.
And the other thing, I like to tell people is governments aren't going to change your life. You are. Stop sitting around and waiting for that bullshit.
That's a very
go make it happen, man.
Yeah, but you know what? That's a very interesting way. I mean, to some degree, that it's a little bit false because obviously they do impact, but on a day-to-day basis, you have to go out and go get it.
You control your trajectory
You
of
have
life.
to go out and go get it.
Yeah.
You can't wait for, and I'm saying, obviously everyone should vote, but it's like it's very important. I'm going to tell everyone to vote.
Especially Indians, because we earned that right.
Right.
It wasn't given. People sacrificed and fought for that shit.
Right.
So honor them by going to vote.
Right.
But
with that said,
yes,
on a day-to-day basis, you need to go get it.
100%.
Like no one's going to just, because you voted this way, or because someone feels bad for you, or you feel bad for yourself, or
because there's a change, your life should be better.
Right.
No, you need to go create a change for your own life.
Right.
They're worried about in the U.S. 300 million people, not you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So you have to go out and do it. I on a micro day-to-day person level, that's just the truth.
Yeah. I think that's just people being lazy, to be honest.
Right.
Guys that point fingers, excuse makers. My life sucks because of that, because of this fast food joint. I'm going to get a lawsuit. There's all that bullshit, man.
Right.
How about you just get off your ass and go do something?
Right.
Right? How about you? Turn that finger to yourself.
Right.
Start there.
100%. What's next?
Continue that trajectory to the title, win that title, and make an impact and do a lot of great things, on the way and on the back end of that win, on the other end out. Sports doesn't make up who I am. It's a very small part of who I am, and it's a small part of my life. So I'm excited about everything else that it's going to open opportunities for.
Long term,
stay connected with my family and community back home. Family first, always. Be a good father, be a good husband, son.
Oh, you know what? Real quick, you just became a father.
Yeah.
What is that like? How's your new
mind blasting?
Yeah. I was about to conclude this, but let's not do that. I want to know just a little bit. I know you're a private person too.
Yeah.
But just what's it like to make that transition to being a father?
It was crazy, man. It's instant changing of priorities, reflection on yourself. Because now you have someone who's going to be looking up to you. Someone who you have to take care of, obviously dependent on you, but also maybe you might be their hero. Someone who's real now. It's not just, community at large and people maybe you don't know, right? So you want to make sure you're the best version of yourself and that you have been a good person so far and all that stuff. And truth be told, I also had a daughter, right? And that's impactful, man. Yeah, it's especially in our community, there are issues there with
even though we say women are equal.
Yeah.
So we don't always practice that.
Yeah, and that's for all community. You look at the world, they're run by old white guys.
Right.
Let's be real.
Right.
Minorities and females come after that, right? So now she's a minority and a female. So it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting growing up and raising her in the right way. And I've been reflecting on that. But whatever she chooses to be, I will be there, and she will be great.
Right. Last question, and a more serious question. What advice do you have to other kids? I was going to say Sikh kids, but really just any kid that really wants to do what you have done.
You can do it. I'm human, man. I got 2 arms, 2 legs, a brain, a heart, and just do it. Dedicate yourself to the process. It's not just what I've done. I'm talking. I'm not talking wrestling or fighting. Whatever it is you're gonna do, it's the same process. Dedicate yourself to the process. What I'm doing daily, it's the first thing I think about in the morning. I have a morning routine where I meditate and I visualize and all that, and I go through that. So it sets myself up for the rest of the day and my priorities, what my priorities are for life and for that day. And then it's the last thing I think about before I go to sleep. So even when I'm sleeping, I'm dreaming about it. So every ounce of my being is dedicated to that process. Mental, physical, spiritual, all aspects. And that's what it takes. And especially if you want to be the best in the world, that's something, you have to sacrifice more than anybody. And so sacrifice, and kids especially, you grow up, you're told what to do all the time. As well you should be, because you haven't grown up and lived life enough to be a decision maker yet. But at that age, figure out what it is you want to do and be in life. Don't just go through the motions and don't waste it. You're here for a reason. Make something in your life. You have the ability to create your life. You don't have to just go through it and allow someone else to tell you do this, that, and kind of would live for weekends or for the holidays and that type of bullshit. You can live for yourself every single day. And if you're passionate about it, you'll be great at it. And you'll be able to, again, purpose, right? You'll overcome anything and do anything. So figure out what it is that you're passionate about. Figure out a game plan and create a support system that believes in you and your vision for yourself. And then chase that damn thing down for with everything you have inside you.
Is there anything special someone should do if they want to pursue fighting?
Get into wrestling. That's the number one base for the fight game. We've got a great system, especially in the U.S. With the NCAAs and the high school wrestling system. That one-on-one competition transfers over the best into the fight game. It's one-on-one. But that dedication to a sport that's so tough, you can ask any fighter, and even if they didn't come from a wrestling background, although the best did, they will say wrestling is the toughest and the best base. Even when you train in fighting, that's the toughest discipline in terms of training sessions out of all the other ones. It's just such a grind on the body. You cannot comprehend or relate to it unless you did it. And that just prepares you so well, not only for the fight game, but for life, if you're able to get through it.
Arjan, thanks, brother. This
Thank
has
you.
been great. This weekend's been great.
I appreciate it, man.
Arjan Bhullar. Thank you, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. If you like the show, please rate and review the podcast on iTunes, subscribe to Sikh Meets World on your favorite podcasting platform, and share it with your friends and family. Stay tuned for our next episode, which comes out next month. And of course, be sure to check out the National Sikh Campaign website for more information.